The desert didn't ask questions. That's what Carmen Holt liked about it. She stood under a bleached sky, watching her student bank too hard in a rented Cessna. Idiot. Too much rudder. She tapped the radio. Ease off, Cole. You're flying the plane, not wrestling it. Yes, ma'am, came the voice, nervous but trying to sound brave. Don't ma'am me. Just fly clean. She released the mic, watching the aircraft settle, then returned to its steady arc over the Mojave scrub. This wasn't flying. Not really. Not the kind Carmen had lived for. This was a slow crawl through open air, babysitting dentists and oil brats who wanted to post cockpit selfies. Still, it paid cash, and nobody out here cared about who she used to be, or why her career ended the way it did. Her boots crunched against the dry gravel as she walked back toward the hangar. She kept her head down when the wind kicked up, dust spinning in low, lazy devils across the runway. The sun bounced off the sheet metal roofs, making everything shimmer like a half-finished memory. She didn't hear the car until it was too close to ignore. Matte black, government tint, plates that weren't local. It rolled to a stop just outside the hangar, doors clicking open without urgency. Two men stepped out. Not soldiers. Suits. The taller one adjusted his tie as if choking on it. Miss Holt, he said. You still fly? Carmen looked at the plane overhead. Every day. Not like this, the other said. He opened a leather folder and passed it to her. Inside, a single photo. Faded. Grainy. The unmistakable silhouette of a black, predatory bird cutting across the edge of the stratosphere. The State Route 71 Blackbird. Her Blackbird. Carmen's stomach didn't drop. Her heartbeat didn't change. But something inside her shifted, something that had been buried deep, locked tight. We're reactivating the program, the suit said. One mission. High risk. High altitude. Deep recon. All off book. Pilot, she asked. That's the thing, he said. We only found one who ever flew it with this configuration. Who lived? And let me guess, Carmen said, eyes narrowing. You lost the manual. Didn't have one, the other replied. Just a name. Yours. Silence stretched between them. The wind kicked up again, fluttering the photo in her hand. The edge curled, like it remembered something too. Carmen didn't answer right away. She just stared at the image, remembering the pressure, the burn of the stratosphere against the canopy, the kind of silence only speed could buy. Finally, she looked up. If this is a trap, she said, you're 2 decades too late. Neither man smiled. That told her enough. Wheels up in 72 hours, the taller one said. You're either in or invisible. He turned and walked back to the car. The engine started. Dust swirled again. Carmen stood alone, watching them disappear into the heat mirage. Then, without a word, she folded the photo, tucked it in her flight vest, and turned back toward the hangar. The sky wasn't done with her yet. The briefing room was colder than she remembered. Underground. No windows. Just concrete, recycled air, and the hum of systems designed to hum quietly enough to forget. Carmen Holt sat alone at the long metal table, hands folded, jacket zipped high. Across from her stood 3 men in various shades of trust me. A general with a clenched jaw. A contractor with the soul of wet cardboard. And a third, civilian, dark suit, clean shoes. Probably from somewhere that didn't officially exist. We need eyes over Echelon Valley, the general said, nodding to a satellite image. It was mostly redacted. Area's gone dark. Intel assets are dead or missing. Satellite sweep got spoofed. Drones won't make it past 5 minutes. Carmen leaned forward, scanning the edges. And you think it's weapons? We think it's something worse. A mobile weapons system with heat suppression and ground-to-sky deterrence. How convenient, she muttered. You need confirmation before you can escalate. We need proof before we can stop it, the man in the suit said. There's a ceasefire window. If we can confirm what's there, and leak it strategically, this war could turn overnight. Carmen leaned back. So I'm not flying a mission. I'm flying a headline. The contractor finally spoke. We've rebuilt the SR-71's primary systems. Upgraded radar masking. But none of our current pilots can fly the recon config. Carmen cocked her head. You've got drones that can do this twice before breakfast. Not at Mach 3. Not that high. Not that fast, said the general. We need a ghost. She stared at the screen. Static buzzed faintly in the lights. No one flies that thing solo, she said flatly. Not in that config. You need two. We're assigning you a mission engineer. You'll choose them. And we've pre-cleared one intel analyst to ride back seat. Top clearance. You'll brief them. And I pick my own crew? You pick your tech officer, the general said. The analyst is non-negotiable. Carmen stood slowly. And command? You'll report to Colonel Vance, said the contractor. She didn't sit back down. Vance is the one who buried the Blackbird program. He scrubbed my record and ordered me grounded after the Beirut incident. He's not your CO anymore, the general said. But he authorized this. Then this is a setup, Carmen said. He wants someone to fly in, die on camera, and justify whatever comes next. You'd be doing it for your country, the suit said quietly. I already did, she snapped. And they erased it. The silence that followed was heavy. Not awkward, strategic. Waiting her out. Carmen exhaled and looked at the image again. Fine, she said. I'll fly. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. My terms. I pick my engineer, I see all intel, and when I say abort, no one gets to overrule me. You want a ghost? You follow her rules. The general nodded once. Carmen didn't smile. She just walked out. Behind her, the mission began. Carmen found him right where she figured he'd be, in a hangar full of junk, arguing with a forklift. Leo Brick Brennan didn't look up when she walked in. He was buried waist-deep in the open gut of an engine from a cargo chopper that hadn't flown since disco. I don't do patch jobs for the Air Force anymore, he grunted. Tell him to find some other burnout. I'm not here for patchwork, Carmen said. Brick's head snapped up. Grease-streaked, older, thicker in the shoulders, but his eyes lit up the same way they used to in the simulator. Holt, he breathed. You back from the grave or just hauntin'? Maybe both, she said. 5 minutes later, she handed him the mission file. 10 minutes after that, he closed the bay door and locked it. You're serious, he asked. The Blackbird? After all this time? They say it's the only way to confirm what's in Echelon Valley, she said. They rebuilt the frame, tweaked the systems. Supposedly. Brick smirked. Supposedly is how people get vaporized at 30,000 feet. I need you, Brick. He looked at her, really looked. This smells like a gravedigger's job, Carmen. You sure you want back in? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. He nodded. Then I'm in. But I want two things. No spooks breathing down my neck, and I want to see the plane first. The State Route 71 sat in Hangar 6 like a sleeping animal. Sleek. Hungry. Rebuilt but not reborn. She looks good, Brick muttered. Too good. They started diagnostics that night. Systems pinged green, but too fast. Some subsystems were mislabeled. Logs had been overwritten. The maintenance records were wiped 3 months back, and not by accident. This bird's been flown recently, Brick said, frowning at the data slate. And not for testing. This was a full-speed flight. Someone's already been up. Then why call me? Carmen said under her breath. Unless they wanted to make sure it doesn't come back this time. Footsteps echoed from behind. Carmen turned to see a young woman in fatigues, dark hair pulled back, tablet in hand. "Lieutenant Alina Reyes," she said crisply. "Intel liaison. I'm assigned to your back seat." "You're not assigned to anything," Carmen said. "You're tagging along. You sit quiet, watch what we do, and follow orders." "I was told." "I don't care what you were told. You want this bird to survive, you stay out of the way and out of my systems." Alina didn't flinch. "Understood." But Carmen clocked the spark behind the polite tone. Smart. Controlled. Dangerous in the way quiet people often were. Later that night, Brick pulled her aside. "Parts are missing," he whispered. "Avionics. Emergency beacon's been pulled and rewired. If something goes wrong up there." "No one's coming to save us," Carmen finished. He nodded once. She looked at the Blackbird, shadowed under hangar lights, and felt the old chill return. Someone wanted this mission to fail. She'd just accepted the invitation. The training compound was buried beneath an old airbase in Nevada, off every known map and scrubbed from satellite memory. Carmen had flown 1,000 miles at low altitude just to reach it without a trail. For 5 days straight, the team trained inside a pressure cooker. Simulations ran 20 hours at a stretch. Flight chambers roared with heat and light as Carmen and Alina endured test scenarios designed to mimic every possible nightmare: engine failure at Mach 3, comms blackout, radar ping lock, oxygen leak at 80,000 feet. Over and over again, until the body stopped sweating and started to shake. Brick worked around the clock in the hangar, rebuilding systems in silence, his grunts filling the air where conversations didn't. Carmen trusted him to prep the plane, but even he couldn't account for what they hadn't been told. "We're training like the plan's broken," Brick said one night, wiping oil off his hands. "Either they're expecting us to improvise, or they want us too scrambled to think straight." Carmen nodded, eyes fixed on the data from the last sim. "Or both." Alina didn't complain. She studied, adjusted, tested with machine precision. But Carmen didn't like the way she followed rules like gospel. "You keep citing procedure like it's gonna save you," Carmen snapped during a NAV sim meltdown. "Protocols exist for a reason," Alina fired back. "You think you're above that just because you've flown faster than God?" "No," Carmen said flatly, "I think I survived because I knew when to break them." Silence buzzed in the simulator chamber. Brick watched from the maintenance console, sighing. "You two better learn to trust each other, or we're all just expensive smoke over enemy soil." Later, Alina confronted Carmen in the mess tent. "You think I'm here to slow you down," she said quietly. "But I read every declassified inch of your career. You weren't reckless, you were right, and they punished you for it." Carmen didn't answer. "They're doing it again," Alina added. That stopped her. Carmen looked at her, not the uniform, not the rank, just the woman. Young. Smart. A little too idealistic for this kind of work. "You really believe this mission ends the war?" Carmen asked. Alina hesitated. "I believe it could change how it's fought." "That's not the same thing." That night, Carmen watched a feed of briefings from Intel Command. One detail caught her eye: a supply route shift, air corridors quietly cleared ahead of the mission window. A pattern. She called Brick. "Why are they rerouting cargo through V6 corridors?" Brick scrolled. "Those are strike lanes. Shielded. Meant for drone runs or decoys. Not for recon." "Nope," Brick said, leaning in. "Unless they want a scene," Carmen finished. He leaned back. "Carmen, they didn't bring you back to finish something. They brought you back to bury it." The words settled like ash. Carmen stepped out into the cold night air. The desert wind was bitter at 3 a.m., rattling loose tin and fence wire. She stared up at the stars, the same stars she used to chase above the clouds, and wondered how many truths were buried in silence. When she returned to the hangar, the Blackbird sat polished and ominous under the lights. It wasn't a plane. It was a message. Fly fast. Die clean. Leave no trace. Carmen placed her hand on the cold titanium skin. They think this is going to erase me, she whispered. But ghosts don't vanish. We haunt. In the control room, Brick ran the final pre-flight diagnostics. In her bunk, Alina pulled out a drive of encrypted files no one had cleared, files she wasn't supposed to have. Her fingers trembled slightly as she clicked one open. And far above them, the mission clock ticked closer to 0400 hours. Launch window open. The Blackbird sat like a knife on the edge of dawn. Sleek. Ready. Silent. Every inch of it gleamed under the runway lights like it already knew it wouldn't be coming back. Inside the cockpit, Carmen Holt's fingers moved like muscle memory over switches, dials, and safeties. Her breathing was steady. Her heart wasn't. Behind her, Alina Reyes ran final checks from the rear station. She spoke with quiet precision, but Carmen could hear the edge in her voice. All systems green. Fuel at 97%. Pressure stable. You copy, Led? Carmen didn't respond immediately. She was watching the comms window blink, waiting for a satellite handshake that hadn't happened yet. Lead? Alina repeated. Copy, Carmen replied. Still no satellite sync. Brick's voice crackled in her earpiece. Cloud cover's clean. Comms should be bouncing off 8A by now. You sure you're not getting signal bleed? No. It's just empty. Carmen adjusted her frequency. Nothing. Just low hiss and static. Ground has full reception, Brick said. Something's blocking you, not us. Carmen's jaw clenched. Copy that, she said. We're going dark. The canopy sealed. Pressurization hissed like a final breath. The runway lights flicked to green. Let's ride, Carmen said. Engines ignited like twin detonations. The State Route 71 surged forward, a black missile gaining speed with impossible grace. Within seconds, wheels left the tarmac and the earth fell away. As they punched through 60,000 feet, the world turned dark blue. Then violet. Then almost black. The curve of the planet emerged like a ghost beneath them. Cruising at Mach 2.7. Vector steady, Alina reported. No missile locks. No tracking pings. Yet. Good, Carmen said. Let's enjoy the silence. But silence wasn't always a gift. At 71,000 feet, the NAV display froze. Carmen tapped the console. It flashed once, then cut to black. Reyes. You seeing this? Nav just dropped. Trying backup GPS. No uplink, Carmen muttered. Still no satellite echo? Dead quiet. That was the moment Carmen knew. Not a glitch. Not interference. They'd pulled the uplink. On purpose. She stared at the horizon, jaw tightening. We're flying blind. Alina looked up from her console. Command would have warned us. That wasn't in the scenario brief. Because this is the scenario, Carmen said. This is what they planned. Below them, the ground turned darker. Echelon Valley loomed ahead, a strip of terrain so heavily shielded, it was a void on every sensor. Carmen banked gently, adjusting by instinct. The State Route 71 had always been more creature than machine. You didn't fly it. You spoke to it, through your bones, your breath, your fear. How do we stay locked on target? Alina asked. We don't, Carmen said. We ride the line and guess better than the bastards who sent us. You think Command cut the signal? Carmen didn't answer. She didn't have to. Alina's voice dropped. You think they're burning the flight? No eyes. No record. No black box. No recovery window. Just a hero story and a folded flag. You still want to go in? Carmen scanned the void ahead, the long, cold reach of sky over a place the world wasn't supposed to know existed. No, she said. I want to find out why. Suddenly, a hard ping lit up the left console. Contact, Alina said. Southwest perimeter, high-altitude radar sweep. We're lit. They see us? They don't see us. They're looking for something big. Not expecting anything this fast, this high. Carmen adjusted throttle, climbed to the edge of 80,000. The sky was thinner here, and the oxygen ran sharp. If we stay above the sweep, we risk blowout, Alina warned. If we don't, Carmen said, we're target practice. The Blackbird roared forward, invisible but not invincible. Back at base, Brick stared at a blank screen, feed cut, telemetry gone. Not a flicker left. They cut her loose, he said aloud. God damn them. In the air, Carmen pulled the plane into a hard bank, following nothing but gut and ghosts. We're in the kill zone, Alina said. No, Carmen whispered. We're in the truth zone. Then, a flash. Below them, something massive shifted. Camouflage peeled away like skin in infrared, a structure half buried in the terrain. Mobile. Weaponized. Not a prototype. Not a theory. Real. Inactive. Alina's breath caught. Oh my God. It's already deployed. Carmen's voice was ice. Take the shots. Every angle. Then prep for exfil. We're not going back, are we? No, Carmen said. But we're not disappearing either. The sky screamed around them as the Blackbird banked again, hunted, silent, and full of stolen truth. The first radar ping hit like a nail through the skin of the aircraft. Lock on, northeast array. Alina shouted from the back seat. They've got us. Before Carmen could respond, the warning tone screamed in her headset, rising, then flatlined into missile alert. 2 inbound. Carmen didn't flinch. Her hands were already on the controls, throwing the Blackbird into a hard jink, 80,000 feet, Mach 3.2, rolling through thin air like it was silk on fire. Brace, she barked. The first missile screamed through their wake, missing by a breath. The second tracked harder, adjusted mid-flight. Missile 2's correcting. Alina cried. It's adapting. Carmen dove. Below, the world was black and jagged, a mess of terrain and cloud breaks stitched together by hostile radar. The State Route 71 trembled as she pushed it faster than it wanted to go. ECM's dead, Carmen growled. That was supposed to break lock. Manual decoy now. Behind them, Brick, patched into the jet via uplink from the base's black channel, was already typing faster than his fingers wanted to move. Wait, got you, he shouted into the line. Redirecting circuit power from secondary battery, chaff doors opening, now. On Carmen's HUD, a tiny green light blinked. Decoy deployed. The missile vanished in a burst of heat and static. Confirmed. Alina exhaled. We're clear. Not for long, Carmen said. Target's 5 clicks ahead. They streaked over the final ridge into a basin too deep and remote to be mapped. That's when they saw it, a spiderweb of angular bunkers half buried in the mountain walls, flanked by mobile launchers, in a rail system. Massive. Efficient. Hidden. I'm logging everything, Alina said, snapping phototelemetry and heat signatures from every angle. But this isn't just a weapons sight. Her fingers danced over a second display, the encrypted data drive she'd brought against orders. Cross-referencing heat profiles, container scans, movement logs. Then she froze. Oh God. What is it? Carmen asked, not taking her eyes off the flight path. These aren't just silos, Alina said. They're transfer points. This whole system, it's not built for defense. It's distribution. To who? Alina swallowed. To us. She spun the monitor so Carmen could glance, crate signatures matching allied weapons, tagged to long-disbanded units. This is a pipeline. Illegal supply runs routed through enemy territory, then laundered back into the field under different flags. Carmen's blood chilled. You're saying our own side has been arming the war to keep it going? To both sides, Alina whispered. This sight proves it. Carmen veered the Blackbird into another wide arc, scanning the rest of the site. Trucks. Tracks masked convoys. This wasn't sabotage, it was business. We have to get this out, Alina said. We will, Carmen promised. We get to blackout range, drop a high-alt burst, and let Brick grab it on the ghost relay. He's only got a 2-minute window. Then we make it count. But enemy radar lit up again. 3 more locks. Closer. New launch signatures, east platform. Alina shouted. We're too far in for another dive, Carmen muttered. Time to thread the needle. She pulled the Blackbird into a descending bank that curved around the edge of the basin, so low the thermal shock rattled the cockpit. Missiles screamed from behind, but the State Route 71 was built for speed, not survival. And Carmen Holt was done surviving. Brick, she snapped into the open line. We've got less than 90 seconds. Prep the burst. Already on it, Brick replied. You've got 1 shot, I'll ping it the second you break horizon. Alina cued the transmission module. Packet ready. Data loaded. Just say when. Carmen's gloved hand hovered over the burst key. On my mark. The missiles closed in. 5 seconds. 4. Carmen felt the Blackbird groan beneath her, one more push, one more scream through the sky. Then the clouds broke, and the window opened. Now. She hit the key. The State Route 71 exploded upward in one final burst, breaching the blackout zone just long enough for the data to punch through. Back at the ground station, Brick's screen lit up with a blinking file. Incoming, Holt Ghost 01. He downloaded it without a word. In the sky, Carmen yanked the jet into a climbing roll, barely outrunning the blast zone as surface-to-air missiles detonated below them in blind fury. Behind her, Alina sat motionless, staring at the feed they'd just unleashed. They weren't flying a recon op anymore. They were flying a revolution. For a moment, the sky held nothing but silence. No radar locks, no missile trails, no system warnings. Then the Blackbird stuttered. Navigation screens flickered, not a malfunction, but a shift. Guidance systems recalibrated mid-course, veering them off their programmed route. A subtle frequency bled through their headset comms, too short for standard signal, too precise to be random. Alina noticed first. Our heading just jumped 2 degrees south. Carmen frowned. I didn't touch anything. Neither did I. Backup NAV's jammed too, it's stuck on new coordinates. Carmen flipped through subsystems manually. Every time she overrode, the plane corrected itself, back to the new course. Brick, she called through the emergency line. You seeing this? Nothing. Just static. Alina scanned the signal. This isn't a hack. It's an embedded override. This was coded before takeoff. Carmen's stomach dropped. A kill corridor. Alina stared at her. They're directing us into enemy kill zones. No. Not them. Carmen's voice was low. Cold. Us. This is U.S. command. They don't want us bringing this intel back. The data's too damaging. Too true, Carmen said. They needed a clean loss. A failed mission. Martyrs, not witnesses. Alina's hands hovered over the console. Should we turn back? Carmen didn't answer right away. She looked out the canopy. The stars were fading into the curve of a false dawn. They could try to return. Hope that someone, Brick maybe, would fight to keep the truth alive. But with their systems hijacked and no uplink, they'd be shadowed, intercepted, buried under official silence. The footage would vanish into classified vaults. So would they. No grave. No name. Just a folded flag and a lie. Carmen gripped the stick tighter. No. We finished this. You're sure? They didn't build this plane to surrender. And they didn't bring me back to follow orders. She killed the primary guidance circuit. The screen went black. Manual flight only. I'm rerouting, Carmen said. We leak it ourselves, drop point over neutral territory. There's an embassy outpost near the turn line. Independent relay. Untraceable. That's deep, Alina said. They'll chase. Let them. Alina locked down the data. Transfer secure. Clean signatures. This goes out the second we hit the beacon. The Blackbird groaned as Carmen redirected course, every surface control bucking against her like a machine trying to obey the wrong master. Override me again, Carmen muttered to the jet, and I'll fly you into the sun. The altitude dropped. The angle sharpened. And ahead of them, on the far horizon, was a dawn not written in any mission file. They were no longer flying under command. They were flying free. And someone, somewhere, was going to hear the truth. The first engine went with a metallic shriek somewhere over the border. A pressure drop rippled through the cabin, and the Blackbird bucked hard left. Starboard turbines failing, Carmen barked. Throttle response is dead. Alina fought to keep her balance as sparks scattered across her console. Fuel's bleeding out. We've got 15 minutes, max. More like 5, Carmen muttered. Strap in. The State Route 71 shook under her hands. The plane was done running. It had outlived every intention, every design, but now it was falling apart at 70,000 feet. Carmen scanned the terrain below, jagged desert ridges, long-shadowed and empty, except for one ghost on the map. An old NATO outpost. Long abandoned. No flight logs. No patrols. Just enough concrete to survive a crash. She aimed for it. The Blackbird howled in its descent, screaming across the sky like a wounded thing. Carmen wrestled the controls, keeping it level just long enough to bleed speed. Alina, brace. Copy, Alina said, grabbing the emergency frame with both arms. The runway appeared, cracked, broken, barely visible. Carmen didn't bother with the gear. They wouldn't survive a hard wheel down. The jet hit nose up and skidded, metal grinding against earth, ripping open its own belly in a rain of sparks and smoke. Then, silence. The Blackbird lay wrecked, wings twisted like broken knives. But it hadn't exploded. Carmen coughed hard, unstrapped, and turned to Alina. You alive? Alina groaned. Think so. You? Ask me in 5 minutes. They stumbled out into a dust-blown courtyard. The outpost was just a husk, rusted fencing, half a tower, a comms dish cracked in half. Carmen staggered back to the cockpit and yanked the secure case from under her seat. The data drive was still glowing. Still alive. We made it, she said. But before she could exhale, Alina froze. I've got thermal movement, she said, checking her wrist unit. 6, maybe 8, closing fast. Locals? Not with that pattern. Military. Hostile. Great. Carmen looked around. Comms? Shattered. Antennas gone. Then Alina paused. Wait, the emergency link. She pulled a pen-sized transmitter from her thigh pocket, a last-ditch encrypted burst tool, barely bigger than her thumb. No NAV, no audio, Alina said, but I can get a single compressed ping out. One shot. Carmen nodded. Send it. Not to command, send it to Brick. Already on it. Alina coded the burst, linked the file, and aimed it skyward. A green flash blinked once. Then it was gone. Carmen crouched beside her, gripping the secure case. Smoke from the crash still rose behind them. In the distance, engines rumbled, ground forces, drawing close. Think he got it? Alina asked. I think Brick's the only one who's still listening, Carmen said. She looked toward the rising dust of the approaching convoy. Her jaw set. Her knuckles whitened. Let them come. They were surrounded before the dust even settled. Black trucks rolled into the courtyard, armored doors slamming open. Boots hit the ground. Carmen didn't resist. Neither did Alina. There was no point. Hands up, they were dragged from the wreckage, blindfolded, cuffed, separated. Carmen didn't know what country they were in now. Didn't care. She only cared about one thing. Did the signal reach him? No one spoke during the interrogation. They didn't need to. The men questioning her weren't trying to learn anything, they already knew. They just wanted to see if she knew what she had done. Carmen stared back, empty and defiant. She gave them nothing. They moved her to a second location. A bunker, maybe. Cold concrete walls, stale air, no clocks. They let her sit in silence. Then, 2 days in, or maybe 3, everything changed. No fanfare. Just a door opening, and a man walking in. Not a soldier. Civilian clothes. A comms tablet in his hand, screen still blinking with a paused video. Your transmission, he said, was received. Carmen's eyes narrowed. So, it's gone global. He played the clip. Satellite imagery. Heat signatures. Overlaid maps. Supply chains traced in glowing red threads across continents, from remote storage depots to frontline units bearing her own country's flag. A polished narrator's voice cut in. These are the leaked images recovered from a covert reconnaissance flight conducted over prohibited airspace. What they show is damning. Proof of a hidden arms pipeline, fueling both sides of a war that was never meant to end. Carmen barely breathed. The images bled into footage of street protests. Parliament walkouts. Emergency summits. One anchor after another blinking through disbelief, fury, betrayal. Then came the breaking alert. A joint ceasefire has been declared across 3 zones. Allied and enemy forces are pulling back from contested regions. All arms deals are frozen pending investigation. The man looked at her. It worked. You lit the fuse. Carmen didn't smile. Just leaned back in her chair, exhaling once. What happens to us? She asked. Officially? He shrugged. You were never here. No one will claim you. No rescue. No medals. I figured. But Brick got out, he added. He dropped the story anonymously to every major outlet across 5 time zones. They couldn't kill it all at once. It outpaced them. Carmen nodded slowly. Good. She asked no more questions. The man left. So did the lights. She closed her eyes and let the dark swallow her whole. The world didn't celebrate. Not at first. Governments denied. Generals resigned. Contractors vanished. But the footage had already burned itself into the global bloodstream. Protests swelled. Whistleblowers emerged. Civilians began asking harder questions. Mothers held up pictures of sons lost in a war that had become a business model. Peace didn't arrive with fanfare. It arrived with fatigue. The public no longer believed in the conflict. The machine ground down under its own weight. And somewhere in that silence, that exhausted, disbelieving silence, the war simply stopped. Not with a treaty. With exposure. Carmen Holt never reappeared. Some said she'd been killed after capture. Others claimed she was in witness protection, or hiding in a monastery somewhere along the mountains. One theory held that she was given a new name and a new passport, paid off quietly, then vanished into civilian obscurity again. Brick never confirmed anything. Alina? She returned under a different identity. Occasionally spotted at university lectures. Writing code for satellite imaging startups. Always looking over her shoulder. As for the Blackbird, or what was left of it, it was hauled from the desert by a convoy that left no tire tracks. Rumor had it the wreckage was boxed into a hangar with no number, at a base with no name. But once a year, always on the same date, a black bouquet would appear at the outer gate. No note. No name. Just memory. Just the ghost of a woman who flew a mission no one dared to, and came back not for glory, but for truth. Truth doesn't always arrive with parades. Sometimes, it comes in silence, carried by those who vanish before we ever learn their names. If Carmen's story moved you, tell us. Where are you watching from, and what would you risk to expose the truth?